Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Mari. I'm one of the librarians at Portland Public Library in Portland, Maine, and I'm here with another picture book biography for Women's History Month. The person that we're learning about today is Molly Williams, America's first female firefighter. We're going to be reading Molly by Golly, The Legend of Molly Williams, America's First Female Firefighter by Dianne Ochiltree and illustrated by Kathleen Kemly. This book is published by Calkins Creek. So let's go ahead and get started. Our Molly is as fine a cook as any in New York City, the lads of Fire Company No. 11 like to boast. In fact, she's wondrously fine. Molly's hasty pudding is the tastiest, the captain always said. No, sir, Isaac would declare, it's her chicken roly-poly, makes a man's mouth water. Hot apple tansy is Molly's most delicious dish, Jonas was sure to insist. The argument would go around the Fire Company's table until the very last bite of venison stew or codfish muddle had disappeared. But on one thing the men agreed. Molly, by golly, put hands and heart to every task, in or out of the kitchen. And one wintry day, she proved just how fine she could be. Inside the cozy kitchen of Mr. A. Meyer's house, Molly Williams briskly whisked cornmeal, eggs, and buttermilk in an earthenware bowl. Outside, snowflakes swirled as thick as cream. Snowdrifts stood as tall as haystacks. Molly stirred glowing embers in the hearth oven and worried. As the Johnny cakes baked, a fierce wind knocked at the door and whistled through chinks in the red-bricked walls. Molly worried more. Snow covered the neighborhood that morning, and a terrible sickness had spread like a thick blanket over scores of households. Influenza. Many of the volunteer firefighters were already sick. Even Mr. Amar lay abed. Molly scratched the upturned chin of Eliza, one of her many house cats, and wondered aloud, if a blaze sparks in a blizzard such as this, what will our poor fire lads do? Molly recognized a sound growing louder above the whine of the snowstorm. Had her worry about the fire come true? Church bells clang, clang, clanged. They sang out a fire alarm. The number of times they chimed told Molly just where the trouble was. Something's afire, Eliza, and it's nearby, she exclaimed. Molly wrapped a heavy woolen shawl over her shoulders and dashed out to spread the news. Molly spied a small knot of neighborhood boys speeding by her with lanterns held high. Runners! Molly by golly led them through the snow-filled alleyways and icy cobblestones. The runners rattled clangers and rang muffling bells. Fire, they cried. Come out, come out. Men burst from their homes with bootstraps flapping and coat-tails flying. Women and children tossed out leather water buckets. Molly and the runners scooped them up as they raced to the fire company's equipment shed. Volunteers busily loaded axes, pulled down hooks and coils of rope into the fire wagon. Molly took a quick count. She'd never seen so few men answer a call. The captain lifted the buckets from her aching arms. Molly, by golly, he said, you're always ready to lend a hand. These hands can do much more than bake Johnny cakes, she thought. She clapped a weathered leather helmet on her head, strapped spatterdashes over her woolen leggings, and pulled on heavy work gloves. Wait for me, she cried. Molly, by golly, exclaimed the surprised captain. He waved her over to the line of men struggling to drag the heavy pumper engine into the snow. Molly took her place on the rope and gripped it hard. Heave ho, lads! And lady, the captain ordered, let's get this pumper on its way. 1, 2, 3, pull, they chanted. Molly and the men rolled the pumper engine straight away into the street. They dragged it through swiftly driving snow. Wintry wind whipped at Molly's face and hands, but she never lost her grip. Soon Molly saw ribbons of soot twirling between snowflakes. She heard frightened voices floating through frozen air. Then there it was, a small wooden house ablaze. Step lively now, cried the captain through his tin speaker's trumpet. Fire wagon and pumper to the side yard. Volunteers and buckets to the river. Close to the snowy bank, the captain chopped holes in the thick ice. Jonas and Isaac dropped buckets into the frigid water flowing below. Molly and the others formed a bucket brigade, passing water hand to hand, filling the tank fast. "Start pumping and be quick about it," the captain shouted. Molly jumped to join the men at the pumper engine's sides. They cranked the heavy long pump handles until water gushed in a steady stream from the fire hose. Hour after hour, Molly sprayed burning timber. Angry flames hissed and spit each time water hit them. Molly pulled down chunks of burning roof with a hooked iron rod. Flaming shingles melted the snow the moment they hit the ground. Choking smoke crept into Molly's nose. Cinders clung to her woolen shawl. A wave of heat warmed her cheeks. "My fire lads won't let this fire win, and neither will I," she thought. The fire raged and roared with the fury of a wild bobcat until, at last, it was out. The Van Horn family shivered in their snowy yard. A haze of smoke surrounded them. They were thankful to be alive and glad the fire had not spread throughout the neighborhood. Bone-tired, Molly took her place on the drag rope to pull the pumper back to the shed. Jonas, Isaac, and the other volunteers rushed to her side, broad smiles on their soot-covered faces. "Hooray for our new company volunteer!" they cheered. "Molly, by golly, you're as fine a fire lad as any," added the captain. "In fact, you're wondrously fine." There's an author's note about the research and some details and some questions that a lot of people have asked about Molly Williams. There's not a whole lot known about her, but we do know what's in this story. And it talks a little bit about early firefighting too. And then some other books that you can read and websites and more places to learn about firefighting, as well as where the author learned all this information. And here's one more picture of Molly Williams, the first female firefighter. I hope you enjoyed this story, and I hope you also enjoyed learning about how firefighting was really different back when Molly Williams was alive. Please join us for more Women's History Month picture book biographies. My name is Sarah Murray. I'm one of the librarians at Portland Public Library in Portland, Maine. Thank you for listening. Bye.